All right, so I am going to get started. I'd like to call to order the first meeting of the Conservation Restriction Committee for the Squanicook Meadows parcel for March 20th, 2025 at 7:03 p.m. So could I have a roll call, please? Let's start it with Ann Gagnon. We'll start with people on the you're not on the committee. Never mind. I'll come back to you, Ann. So, Veronica Cal present. Emily?
Emily Fine, present.
And you,
Mike Potsett, present.
By field, soccer field,
pardon me?
far end of the field. We did a study a couple of years ago.
Thank you. All right, I got Michael Potsett present and Selena, did you say present as well?
Not yet. Selena Thomas, present.
Okay, thank you. So I'd like to announce that the meeting is being recorded and it will be uploaded to YouTube. Is there anybody else that's recording the meeting? Okay, hearing none. There's no one else recording. Additions or deletions, we have with us tonight Ann Gagnon. And I'd like to add, she's from Massachusetts. You want to introduce yourself, Ann?
Sure, I'm the Northeast District Land Agent for the Mass Department of Fish and Game.
And what I'd like to do is put Ann on our agenda. If you notice, there's not a 2.3 on our agenda. So I think that's the perfect place. It went from 2.2 to 2.4. So right in there, 2.3, I'd like to add Ann to discuss the fish and game conservation process with us, if that would be okay with you, Ann, and with the committee.
Sure.
So the committee, are you all on board with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we'll add Ann as 2.3. And there are no minutes because this is our very first meeting. So our first, what we're here for is to discuss the CR, a conservation restriction for the Squanicook Meadows property. And I can talk a little bit about the background on this, if you'd like. But our first item of business is to reorganize the Conservation Restriction Committee and nominate and vote on a chair, a vice chair, and a clerk. So that's our first item of business. So is there anybody that would be willing to chair or would like to nominate someone to chair?
I'll nominate you.
Me? All right.
I second that nomination.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Hearing none, I will chair, and we can revisit that if people think future that would be good. All right, a vice chair. Who is willing to vice chair or would like to nominate someone to vice chair the committee?
I'm willing to vice chair.
Oh, good. I nominate Selena to vice chair the committee. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor? Oh, I guess we have to do a roll call vote, don't we? I might have to go back to the first vote because we're remote. So I need a roll call vote for Selena as vice chair. So Emily, let's start with you.
Yes.
You have to say your name.
Emily Fine. And then what?
And then yes.
I vote yes.
All right. Veronica Kell, I vote yes. Selena
Selena Thomas, yes.
and Michael.
Mike Potsett, yes.
All right, so that's our whole committee. So the ayes have it, and Selena, you are the vice chair. Can we go back and do the nomination for chair again? The vote, I should say. So
Can I ask, are we allowed to do by unanimous consent?
we are on a remote call, so no,
Okay.
because we have to, by the state's open meeting law rules, we have to do a roll call vote if any of us are on remotely. And we
Okay.
are. So for the nomination for Veronica Kell as chair, Emily, go ahead.
Emily
Name.
Fine, yes.
Veronica Kell, yes. Selena?
Mike Pot said yes. Whoops.
Oh, that's all right. And
And Selena Thomas, yes.
all right, thank you. And that leaves the clerk position. So what should we do about that?
If it
I
requires.
nominate Mike.
Well, if it requires taking notes and making a report, you might want to reconsider. But, I mean, whatever.
Is there a second for Mike?
Oh, no? Okay.
Well,
Should we just leave the clerk open for now?
But we need somebody to write the
Take
notes of
minutes.
this meeting. I'll do it.
Thank you, Emily.
Oh.
All right, so I know, so is there a nomination for Emily? Did you just nominate yourself? Second? I'll second it. All right, roll call vote. Veronica Kell, yes. For Emily Norton as
Emily Fine,
as clerk, sorry.
that's
Emily?
okay. I make that mistake too. Emily Fine, yes.
Selena Thomas, yes.
Mike Pot said yes.
All right. So the ayes have it, and Emily is our clerk. So
Do I have to write down who nominates and who seconds and all that?
yes, you do, but I have it, so I'll give it to you, Emily.
Okay.
Because I have this method. This is why I'm always writing. I do a 1 and the initials, and a 2 and the initials, and then I do check marks with initials next to the people that didn't do the first
Okay.
or the second.
All right,
on
but
the
you'll give me
motion.
that information.
I
Okay.
will give you that.
All right,
So
here I
don't worry
go.
about that. All right, so since I am the chair, I will go ahead and go over 2.2. We're going to move on to review and discuss the conservation restriction process and the next steps. So just for a little background, Emily Fine is the permit holder, the MISA permit holder for the endangered species on the site. And about 3 years ago, I believe it was, when the TESA lease was needed to be redone, there was a meeting of the minds, so to speak, of people from TESA, the Conservation Commission, the Select Board, and the permit holders, and also people from the state to discuss what we can do about that site to allow both the community to use it for soccer and also to preserve the species on the site. So that was the idea. And we had, there were a couple different ways to handle it, but one of them was for the conservation, for the town, and I was a selectman at the time. I'm a selectman again now, but I haven't been for the past year and a half. But at the time that this was first discussed, I was a selectman. So I was on that, in that group of people discussing this. One of the things that could have happened is the town could have transferred the property to the Conservation Commission. So we asked them if they would be willing to take it, and then they could monitor the site. And they held a vote in a meeting. This was probably the fall of 2022. and they voted not to receive the property. So that meant that the town needed to look at putting a conservation restriction on in order to keep the species protected. So that process got started, and I emailed you the deed and the 2 plans of land, and perhaps I can screen share because I have them here to do that. A map that was done by, I believe it was MRPC, that we needed for an RDA because we were looking at how to maintain that property that year and get out Japanese knotweed from along the river and different things like that. So we had a map done by MRPC to show the property. And anyway, so I sent you those. And then I believe it was Mike Jones, or was it, her name started with an M.
Michaela,
No, it might have been Michaela.
Mick,
Yeah, who
goes by
sent us
Mick.
the MISA CR, the conservation restriction. And we started to edit it, and then my term was up and away I went, and that was that until now. So now I'm back and I'm like, so did we get the conservation restriction done? And the answer was no. So here we are. So the process, and you can correct me if I'm misstating, but basically what a conservation restriction does is it defines the area of a property that you want to say, these are the allowed uses on this piece of the property. These are the uses that are not allowed on that piece of the property. You can specify, so it's allowable uses, non-allowable uses. You typically do a baseline report. This is the conditions, and then it's monitored every year to make sure that things are done as expected. It goes to a process at DCR where they look at it, they review it, they bring it back to, they send it back saying, hey, we would like you to put a little bit more here as far as defining the property goes, or the reasons that you want to have this here, or whatever it is. And then the wishes of the landowner in combination with the person holding the CR. And it's a back and forth process until finally you get a document that says ready for local signatures. And then the town signs it and the CR holder signs it. And it becomes a deeded piece of the property that that allows a protection on a certain part of the property. So what I am going to share, did I say that well enough, Anne?
Yeah, well enough. I mean, to be nitpicky, it's Division of Conservation Services, not DCR.
DCR, Division of, okay.
Yeah.
Thank
so
you.
Yet another acronym at the state. And typically CRs first list the reasons why there's a CR, what you're trying to protect, right? And then the values of the property. And then the next section is you can't do anything. Everything is prohibited. And then in the third section, they allow certain uses back in.
Okay, so let me see if I can, I will screen share this. Did you guys have a chance to review all of these documents that were in there, or
Yes.
anyway?
Yes, yeah.
Briefly.
Yeah, this is the MISA template, and it's kind of the purposes of the CR. This is, so you tell in the first part, can you all see this?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I
Yes.
am successfully screen sharing. I don't know how big it is for you guys, but anyway, this defines the property, and then, where it is, when it was, its deed, etc. Then this is the purposes for the CR, which is what Anne was talking about. Why do you want to protect the property? And there are all these reasons that are possible, and you pick it, you you pick and choose depending on what you're doing with the property. And then the baseline documentation report and survey, typically you need that. And then definitions, the conservation value, prohibited uses, and reserved rights. So these are the things that you can't do. Reserved rights in the premises are the things that you can do on the property. And then anything else you want to do, you want to put in here. Legal remedies of the grantee. So what if things don't happen? Blah, blah, blah. Extinguishment, how do you get rid of the CR should you want to? Assignability.
Can I just interrupt for a sec?
Absolutely.
And say that it's not if you want to get rid of the CR. So once the CR is recorded, that's it. There is no getting out of it.
Okay.
So extinguishment is more for if the government was to take the property for some specific reason. That's how a CR would get extinguished, but it's not something that typically can be done by one of the parties. You know what I mean?
Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Okay.
Anyway, and so on and so forth. Subsequent transfers, what happens if the owner is no longer the owner? Even though there's a CR on the property can still be sold. There are, how do you amend this and when did it happen? Et cetera, et cetera. And then down at the bottom, the signature pages, the grantor, the grantee acceptance, the approval by the select board or city council, and then the exhibits, whatever you want to put in there. The description of the premises, you would put the deed in, the plan of land, whatever. And let me see if they have it here. Acceptance of grant. So grantor's name, Commonwealth of Massachusetts has to sign, and then the town also has to sign, the town where the property is located. And approval of the select board. And that's pretty much it. The state has to sign, et cetera, et cetera. Acknowledgement by the Mass Division of Fisheries and Wildlife. So this is a specific MESA CR, which is why Fish and Wildlife is there. That's the Endangered Species Program, correct?
Correct.
So they, down at the bottom, they are also an approving part in this. Where are they? Here. So that's pretty much what happens. And it is a process these are the exhibits that you would put at the end. So questions on this? Anne's going to talk more about this in the next piece, but that's what we're doing here, is looking at this. So are there any questions?
So I don't have a question about the form specifically. I did have a question about the idea of transferring the land to the Conservation Commission.
Mm-hmm.
So you said that was voted on back.
Yeah, it was a while ago. Yeah.
Is it worth considering asking again if they would want the land transferred before we do the CR process?
Well, that might be a consideration, but I want to talk with Anne first because there's a slightly different process that we might be able to put in play.
Okay.
So
Can I ask why they rejected the offer?
I would have to watch that meeting to tell you exactly. I believe several of the people that are still on the board were on the board at the time. So I know James was on the board, Jim DeRoyan was on the board. I don't remember who else was at that point. But I think they just didn't want the responsibility of having to monitor. That is my guess. But again, it's a guess because I haven't watched that meeting in a long time. So
Well, I'll see you next Wednesday. We have a meeting. I can ask them.
So we also have to see if the select board is willing to transfer the property. So, Emily, do you want to weigh in on this as the permit holder?
I think that's a good question to ask, and I think it's worth looking into.
It would mean that we would not be putting a conservation restriction on this property.
Yeah,
It would mean that what we couldn't do was have the town own the property and the Conservation Commission hold a CR. We couldn't do that.
right.
So the suggestion was transfer it to them. When they said no, then it came back to the select board.
Okay. And if it was transferred to the Conservation Commission, would they be able to say the allowed uses and the not allowed?
The CR wouldn't be a part of it. They would be the ones then in charge of the lease. So I would have to check with town council on this because right now the lease is 3 years and then 3 years and then 3 years to TESA.
One thing that might be sort of a reason not to do it that way is that the conservation commissioners change on a regular basis. And so the way the property is cared for and the policies that they would have could also keep changing from one year to the next whereas a CR would be something that would have some consistency over time.
Maybe what I'll do is I will get the date of that meeting, and within the next day or two, I'll send you the link to the Conservation Commission meeting and where they discussed it. Would that be helpful?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
sure.
Okay. Sorry, I'm writing it down.
Yeah, now that I think about it, I am thinking that I think consistency would be really helpful.
Mhm. Yes.
Yeah, that is a good point.
And also, I think this is a really great committee because we're viewing the property from all different perspectives. And so we can give everybody's values input here. And that's good. That's something that's really good.
There is so let me share the map of the property just very quickly.
So I also, while you're doing that, Ronnie, so when I looked at the maps briefly, it looked like one parcel was already under the control of the water department.
This is why we have a water commissioner on this committee. That's Todd. And to say it's already under the control isn't quite exactly, but it is set aside for a water use.
So what does that mean, set aside?
It means that there's a potential town well site on the property.
But is it currently deeded to them?
I thought we looked at this before and I didn't think it was, no.
Okay, so that kind of makes sense. If the Conservation Commission didn't get the other one, it could be that the deed was just to general municipal land, to the town of Townsend, as opposed to, under the care, custody, and control of conservation or to the water department. But that would be something to clarify, quite frankly.
Okay. I remember going through this way back when and determining that The deed was to the town with the option for a well site. It was not to the water department, but I will check to ensure that that's the case. This is why it would have been good to have Todd on the meeting.
Well, you'll have another meeting, I'm sure, right?
Oh, we will,
Yeah.
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 I'll find out.
And what's Todd's last name?
Melanson, Melanson. It's on the letterhead of
Oh,
the for the agenda for today.
right. Sorry about that. I didn't have a copy in front of me.
That's okay. So this is the property, and the area with the restriction would be back in here.
I can't
Oh.
see where you're pointing.
Oh, you can't see my cursor.
Well, maybe if I make it a little bigger. Can you do that again?
I can try.
Okay, so I see the cursor and you're heading to the north.
Yeah, so if you
go ahead.
if you start, this is the entry far up on Mason Road. If you start
Yeah.
there and come down here and kind of then aim over towards this way and come down around here, there's parking. We want to stay off of the parking area. The parking is all down here. And it
No,
would be
the parking is near that 113521. Yeah,
right in here.
Yeah.
This is the parking, right?
Yeah.
So it would be on this side and up to Mason Road on the other side. So
Okay, so basically excluding the playing fields,
yes,
the field in between the two playing fields, that 113521,
yes.
correct.
and the roadway.
And the roadway coming in and the area on the same side as the fields, all the way up to Mason Road or wherever.
Okay. All right. So there's, okay. So there's no more fields, soccer fields proposed to the north?
There are soccer fields proposed. Selena, you can talk about this more in this area. I know there's
Yeah.
more parking being added. I think it's up in here.
Yes,
So
And
on-
where? Can you show that again, the parking?
It's up in this area. So you come
Oh,
in.
I see. Uh-huh.
I can't figure out how to get everybody's faces off the
Yeah.
the right column of my screen here at home. I'm sure there's a way, but maybe here. So I know there's in this area, there's more parking proposed. Selena, do you want to talk about it more?
Yeah, so right now the idea is the existing road would get more parking along it where there isn't currently parking. So
Like up
as you
in
go in the
here?
road, some parking in there, and then as you follow the road along, once you pass that first field, the
Mhm.
parking is only on the south side. So we want to add parking on the north side of that road as well. And then we're proposing new fields between the two fields.
So in here.
Leaving some of the land naturalized, but putting in some more field space. And then to the north and east of the first field, Yep.
So in here?
that area in there would be additional parking. It wouldn't be paved. It would just be graded, just space that you can drive on. So some additional parking up in that corner.
So there would be a driveway that led to that parking area, obviously.
Like
Yeah,
right
so right along the side of the field
Mhm.
between the main road in right now and up to that space. And then we have a right of way out to the road, out to
Right
Mason
here?
Road, right there. So we were gonna make that a in only. You can drive into that parking lot, and then when you leave, you go out the existing drive.
Oh. And has Natural Heritage already issued a MESA permit for this work?
We are working on that process right now. We've been going back and forth a little bit, and I'm waiting on them to schedule a meeting to finalize things.
If I remember right, the Board of Selectmen signed the document that was needed to allow it to go forward, to be looked at for permitting purposes. So.
Yep.
And basically, this road, this is kind of the bound right now of the soccer, up to around in here, of the soccer facility.
Yes.
So, and all the work is being done away from the protected area, the area that we're looking to protect.
Correct.
So if you have any plan that shows that area on your, that you've submitted to Natural Heritage, that might be helpful for me to see. There is that strip of woods basically along, to the south of the entrance along the access road.
Yeah, we will be touching that.
You mean here?
Yeah. Exactly,
Yeah.
all the way down. And I think that's roughly 3 acres. It's not very big. And then it would also include this other parcel to the north beyond the playing field, correct?
You mean this?
I'm
Up towards Mason Road?
I'm
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm having a hard time seeing your pointer, so.
Well, the first soccer field heading towards the houses and then going to the right.
No. I'm looking more at 1135-0.
Oh, over
Oh,
here.
Yeah. Is
Yeah, so
that
that's protected area. We aren't going anywhere near that.
okay? So the CR would include that area?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yeah.
one of my questions is, so first of all, would this be an appropriate time for me to?
I think that we should, I've pretty much said all I'm going to say about the conservation restriction process. I'm going to go to 2.3, and this is the appropriate place for Anne to talk. Should I leave the map up, Anne, or should I?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
So I just wanted to introduce myself again to everybody who might not know me. And I'm basically the land agent for Mass Fish and Wildlife for this part of the state. So I buy land, I accept gifts, I acquire CRs sometimes. But however, it's not just my decision, right? So as a land agent, I develop projects. So I approach landowners and ask them if they want to sell or donate their land or CR. And then once we come to an agreement on, yeah, this is the area, then I present that project to the Lands Committee, which is made up of other fish and wildlife personnel. And then they usually rank those projects across the state against each other. Now, this one is a little different in that it would be a gift. So I could get the Lands Committee to approve this kind of project over email rather than having to wait for one of our 2 land committee meetings that we have annually. So we typically meet in the fall and approve projects, and then we typically meet January, February and approve projects. But for gifts, since there's much less expenditure, we still have to do title exam and sometimes other due diligence. Like in this case, we would probably do a survey, because even though the property was surveyed previously when the development went in, we wouldn't be getting a CR over the entire property, right? So we would be excluding those playing fields and the parking area and the roadways. So that would be required. So, as I said, I could probably get the Lands Committee to approve the gift. We have a boilerplate because we're a state agency that protects land for wildlife habitat. We do not go through the same CR process that towns do. So our process is much quicker and easier and simpler and doesn't have usually as much back and forth with town council, et cetera. So we have a boilerplate that we use on a regular basis, and we fill in the blanks and we're essentially done. Once the town agrees with the language, then we sign it ourselves, the town signs it, and then you're done. The process with Division of Conservation Services tends to be much more lengthy. Sometimes it can be, 6 months or longer. What else did I also wanted to say that for something like this, I would definitely want the, it's funny. Pat, I was going to say I would want Pat Huckery to be involved. And she just sent me a text asking if we were still meeting. So I'm not sure how to get in touch with her while I'm on this phone. I'm going to have a friend see if she can text her and say, yes, get on if you can. So, Pat Huckery is the district manager, and I already discussed this briefly with her to see if I should even attend and whether she's even interested in accepting the CR, because if she wasn't, then, I'd basically be wasting my time and your time. But she said that, yes, she would be interested in holding the CR on this one, in theory, because it's such valuable property in terms of rare turtles. And in addition, Mass Fish and Wildlife is kind of, hold on one sec. Leslie, sorry about that. Just have her join. Sorry. Hold on one sec. Just have her join, please. The Zoom. Sorry about that. So Pat is going to join the Zoom now. So if you have to let her in, just be forewarned that she's going to try to join. The other thing that we're cognizant about is natural heritage and endangered species program, because typically there's kind of a firewall between land agents like myself and natural heritage. And the reason for that is they're very sensitive about not giving the appearance of extracting land, so, why don't you just give us that land or give us that CR? So they're very careful about not suggesting that, we're an option. Although in my mind, I think they could certainly offer many options, such as another land trust or another state agency, et cetera. So we would just want to make sure that within Fish and Game and Fish and Wildlife, that it's considered acceptable for us to hold this CR. So I just want to put that out there to you. The other concern on my part is the water department possibility of a well, and just having some safeguards as to where that might occur. I think that Natural Heritage would probably be involved, and another permit would need to be issued if they were gonna actually put wells in, so that's really not my business, but whether the CR is granted to Fish and Wildlife, Fish and Game, or another entity, I think the CR would probably need to address that if the town wants to retain that right into the future.
I think the town would want that right.
Yeah.
Emily, where is the well site? Is it in this area or is it farther up?
Yeah, it's to the left of your, up, yeah, right there, and then in the woods, in where the
So
trees
it's-
are. Yeah,
It's up in here.
yeah,
So the
Yes.
access on this side of Mason Road, the far side of Mason Road, is pretty much the access into that well site, which is right in this area.
And are there wells there currently?
No, only a test well, I believe.
Okay.
Yes.
yes.
So one point I do want to make, just for people that aren't familiar with CRs, is the town retains ownership of the land. When you have a conservation restriction, you have someone that is kind of the overseer watching to make sure that the restrictions that were the landowner wanted on the land are actually being, put into play. They're being honored. So anyway, I just wanted to make that. So it's not as if Fish and Wildlife becomes the owner of the property. They are the overseer of
Correct.
the uses in that portion of the property.
Correct. And if Fish and Wildlife wanted to do work in the area, like clear brush to enhance the turtle nesting area, we would need to get permission to do that.
Right, from the landowner.
Right.
So,
So has Pat tried to join yet?
I thought I admitted her.
Yeah, I'm in.
Oh,
Oh,
good.
good. Because I don't see you on my screen.
Do you see me,
Um,
Veronica?
There you are.
There we go.
So,
I'm sorry
okay.
I'm late. I was shearing and I got distracted. So good to see everybody. Sorry I tuned in late.
So do you want to introduce yourself to everybody, Pat? And then we can do the same.
I'm Pat Huckery, Northeast District Supervisor for Mass Wildlife. I know Emily. I know Veronica. Who else is on the call?
Selena, do you want to?
Yeah, I'm Selena Thomas. I'm the Vice President of the Townsend Ashby Youth Soccer Program.
Hi.
Hello.
And then Michael?
Mike Potts said I'm on the Conservation Commission
Hi, Mike.
for just a
Yeah.
couple of months, so I'm a newbie.
Okay.
The other person on the committee is Todd Melanson. He's a water commissioner. And he was appointed to this committee, but he did not make it to the meeting tonight. So I'll talk to him later.
Okay.
But that's our committee. The four of us, I think, we're here for the habitat, the soccer piece, making sure that we protect the species as well as allow for the recreational uses that are so important on this property. And then there's also a well site that I don't know if you were on when we were talking about it. When this property was deeded to the town, they saw it as a potential new well site. And that well site is, if you come in this entrance to the property, it's back in here. So there is no existing town well on it now, but it was a future well site for the town. So that is a reserved use on the property.
Okay.
So,
So I was just explaining, Pat, that, I had a brief conversation with you about the potential for holding a CR on the non-soccer areas. So basically the potential turtle nesting areas. And then I also explained that it's not just our decision and that, you know, even if you and I were in favor of doing the CR, we'd still need to get the land committee approval. And because natural heritage is involved, we'd want to make sure that we were all on the same page and it's all copacetic. So did you want to add anything to that?
I think that what you and I talked about was that sounds like what we went over, but we also wanted to know more about the conservation and the CMP, the Conservation Management Plan, which
apparently has not been issued yet. They're still working on it, and the CMP, which kind of brought the potential CR back to the forefront, is to propose another soccer field in between the two existing fields.
Mhm.
So if you're looking at the map, it's 113521, right where that number is.
Yeah.
Is where the new additional field would go. In addition, to the north of the first. Yeah, so I don't know if you can see Ronnie's arrow, but
Trying to move it back and forth.
yeah, to the north, there would be a new entrance proposed in that location that would be in only, and some additional parking would be placed
Right.
just to the northeast of that first field. And then the idea would be that that would connect to the existing access road and it would be an out only.
Yeah, so it would be one way in and out. And I will say that this is underway. These plans are underway. The town did sign to allow TESA to go forward with the permitting for these fields. The new fields.
Besides MISA permitting,
There needs to be other permits. Maybe Selena can talk more about that. What other permits are required? I think there's a building that's
Yeah,
a small building.
Currently, there is a small storage shed, but we want to add a lightning structure, like a pavilion kind of idea, for safety reasons. And that would be right next to the existing roadway in, kind of in the bottom left corner of that field. Just a
Right in
small
this area.
small lightning protection structure. So that is the building. It wouldn't be a large building, just enough. And the permitting, we are working with MISA right now to try and finalize the site plan. They had some questions and requests about moving some stuff around. So we've been working with them on that. And we are going to be meeting with them. We're waiting on them to reply with a meeting date to finalize the site plans. As far as the other permitting things go, I don't know off the top of my head what they are, because our civil engineering firm is keeping the checklist of all the different permits we need. So I can get that information to everybody, but I don't have it with me at the moment.
Are there any lights planned for the
No.
property?
No, because the existing information we have is that the lighting is not allowed on the property due to the habitat of the turtles. So like
Okay.
it's already in the lease that there is no lighting allowed.
Okay, good. And there's no other, I mean, I understand that you're considering that additional access way in, but that's still all to the south of the development, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
there are some structures that are in the proposed CR area. There's the access in from the horseshoe. I'm just looking at a white rectangular that looks like two structures that are
You mean this? And
No,
this
the 1135 area, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
over
that.
here?
I don't know what those are. I've never seen them.
Yeah, I don't know what that is either,
We
actually.
also don't go past that second field like
Mm.
ever. So
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Good.
possible that this is encroachment. If it's still there, it's possible that this is someone's shed or something. I don't know. I mean, have you seen anything out there, Emily?
No,
This
No.
isn't, this
No.
map was made, maybe 2 or 3 years ago when the first time we did habitat management out there.
Right.
That's when this was made.
We'll have to go take a look.
I don't recognize that at all, and I can't imagine what it could be.
Yeah, it could just be like, how when you take an X-ray, you get a
That
little
looks
white
real,
thing.
though.
No, maybe, I don't know. I don't think it would be soccer nets, but
no,
No,
it's
I don't think this is soccer at all. They really don't go beyond this area.
yeah, I didn't think so.
Could be a vehicle like a camper or something like that.
Yeah.
If you look at the current satellite image, one of the white things is still there, the smaller square
one?
one. Yeah,
Mhm.
but the other one is not. And it does look like that house there has
Here?
taken more space behind it for yard.
Yard, yeah, exactly. That looks like a trespass.
That is encroachment.
Yeah.
Huh.
So that's what happens when there's no CRs on the property. Because nobody claims ownership and goes out and checks these things on a regular basis. And that's the kind of thing that would be hopefully caught if there was a CR on the property.
Right, because you monitor the property every year
Correct, yeah.
for those sorts of encroachments.
And typically, the planning board requires bounds at the rear of the lots. So because this is a relatively old development, I'm not sure if that was required, but there is an existing plan that's recorded. So we should be able to scale it off as well to say,
Right.
hey, clearly you shouldn't be here and you need to restore it.
That might be one for me, actually. So since the town is the owner of the property,
Yeah.
so all right.
That photograph, though, is definitely from a long time ago because there are so many more trees
Yes.
in that area now. Those things might not be there anymore.
Well, yeah.
Someone said they just looked at the more current aerial and just the smaller object is still there. So it bears some investigation.
Yeah.
So Anne,
Yes.
so the boilerplate option that you described earlier does that really seem like a viable option, or is there impediments to that approach?
I think the only issue that I can foresee regarding that boilerplate is that we would need to we would need to get permission to change the boilerplate to include allowing future well site.
Okay.
And so we would probably need to have a larger conversation with the water department to figure out, is it still viable? Do they even still, there's different degrees, right? So I could see where the town might say, well, we want to keep that retained right just in case, because you never know. But on the other hand, Todd might say, yeah, we looked into this and, at this time, it doesn't seem that it's feasible because, I don't know, we can't get the quantity of water or there were quality issues or whatever. And so I think we need to do a little more research and find out, because if Todd said, well, I think that the water department would still like to retain, and the town for that matter would like to retain the right to potentially put in a well in the future. At this point, we don't think it's feasible in the next 10 or 20 years.
Okay.
Because then I think that the powers that be at Fish and Wildlife, meaning the Lands Committee specifically, might say, oh, okay, if that's the case, then, this turtle habitat is important enough for now that we can live with that. But they might want to put some parameters around, how much disturbance could occur, et cetera. And as I said, they would have to go and get additional permits from conservation and natural heritage, et cetera, if they chose to act on that in the future.
And if we went with that option, would the CR just be the strip of land near the river? Or would it cover the entire land? In other words, once it's surveyed, you would just have the CR for the strip or the whole parcel?
Well, that would be something to discuss.
Mhm.
I would recommend that we include that strip of hillside along the existing access road, the 3 acres that I had referred to earlier. And then everything past that last, the strip along the river,
Right.
and then past that playing field, I would say it should include all that area as well, with the caveat that, a well may be installed in the future with proper permitting, et cetera.
So basically the entire land minus the part that actually is being used for soccer?
Exactly. It would exclude the existing soccer fields, the proposed soccer field, the existing parking and access road, as well as the proposed parking and access road.
Right. And so the options are this 20-page form that seems like it would be a real job to do, or this quote unquote boilerplate option. Is there a downside to the boilerplate option?
Well, you would have to look at the devil's in the details, obviously. Our boilerplate is also very lengthy. We have a section that if the town wanted to still do forestry on the property, then there's a section for that. This is this area is so close to the river and, is already fairly open. I don't know that would necessarily pertain to this. So that would be up to the town to decide whether they want to retain that right or not.
Okay. When you said boilerplate, somehow in my mind, I thought easier. So
It is. It is definitely easier. There are very few places to change, for instance. So it would be open to hunting. However, obviously there are existing setbacks, right? So you can't hunt within a certain distance of roadways or houses. So I'm not even sure if any of that would be available for hunting. You know what I mean?
What about hunting when the kids are on the field? I don't know for sure that I would want that as an allowed use.
I'm not even, so the first thing to do would be to check and see if this is within hunting setbacks already. So if it turns out that, hunting is precluded due to the location of existing houses and roadways, then, it's a moot point, right? You couldn't do it anyways. So I haven't done that step yet. So that could be something that before the next meeting, I'll look into that more closely.
Emily and Selena, have you ever known hunters to be out there?
No, I think there would be room setback wise. I'm not 100% sure because I am not up to date on my hunting setbacks,
Hunters and
but those fields are very large. So I do believe on the other side of the field from the houses, you're probably far enough back to
Mhm.
hunt. There's not much past the soccer fields, like it's all the Squanicook River, so there's a lot of no man's land.
Right.
Okay.
I've
So I
never, I've
can,
never come across a hunter, but I have heard gunshots not far away, but that's probably down the river a bit or upstream a bit or across the river.
right, right. So like I said, I can look into that issue and, try to create a map that would show the existing hunting setbacks.
Okay.
And correct me if I'm wrong, the difference between the CR form we have and your boilerplate would also include who owns the CR, or own maybe not be the right word. Who holds the
Hold.
Who
CR?
holds the CR? Yeah. So I don't know who would be the CR holding entity in your draft so far, Ronnie. I don't know if you even got that far.
We hadn't. I had been in conversations with Al Futterman at Nashua River Watershed. This was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And he was on the lookout for us for a CR holder. And then, of course, all of the, Al retired and the whole management has changed at NRWA. So I have not gone back to them,
One question that I have is is Misa the one who's suggesting that you have a CR if you don't transfer the land to the care, custody, and control of conservation?
Yes.
Okay. And then did Natural Heritage request that the CR include the soccer fields themselves?
No, they
Or-
didn't. I never got the impression that they wanted the soccer fields themselves included in that.
Okay, good. I mean,
But-
because that would make a big difference,
But
yeah.
But what about you, Selena? Did you have a different impression from me or Emily?
Yeah, no, the same thing. So I was not part of soccer back then, but I went back and I watched a meeting that was held between the then TESA board and MISA, and I got the same impression that they were not wanting the soccer fields included.
That's the impression I had. So
That's great, because that was one of my big concerns was, I don't think,
no, you don't want to have to monitor this.
no, I don't want to have to
No,
deal with that.
Soccer, monitor the soccer field.
Yeah. Great.
All right. So what I have is that in my mind, we should all just go back and think about things and what makes sense. I will look for the date of the Conservation Commission meeting where this was discussed way back when and send you guys a link to that YouTube video. I'll talk to Todd and do some looking at the deeds because I know this was a point of discussion again way back when, clarifying the water department, whether they are. I don't think this was ever transferred to them. I think it's not water department property, and we went through that and what their thoughts are on it.
Yeah, and how likely is it that, they would, even if they do request that they retain the right, how likely is it that they might be actually doing something in the next 10 or 20 years?
Okay. All right, and then I have a a star next to encroachment.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the town's property, so I think we have to go take a look at that. And then I have a star next to the boilerplate that you use at Fish and Wildlife.
Mhm.
If you could, just kind of give us a copy of that just to look at. Might be-
Yeah. I'll try to fill it in. When do you think your next meeting will be?
Well, that's our next item on the agenda is to figure out when we can again meet. And for me, it would be better if it was further out than sooner, just because of all the budget things going on in town right now.
Yeah.
It's pretty busy. So what do you guys think? And is Thursday a good day to meet?
It is for me.
Yeah, in general, Thursdays are good for me as well.
Yes, Thursdays.
Emily, yes?
Yep.
So I would suggest April 10th. Does that work? Is
That
that
works for
too long out, or should we go, the 10th is good?
That works for me.
Sure.
Yep.
All right. Anne, is that good? And Pat?
I believe so. I don't have my calendar right out in front of me, but even if I couldn't make it, I could certainly get my information to you beforehand, and maybe Pat could attend.
If one of you could, yeah, that would be
Yeah.
great. All right. So, I will post a meeting for 7 p.m. I will get everybody's email from Sabrina because she did the posting for us initially. And I will create an agenda, run it by you guys to see if there's anything else you want added to it before I post.
Great. Well, thank you very much for allowing me to attend, and for you guys for taking the time. This is a really important property that's very important to rare turtle species, and I'm sure other species as well. So,
Sorry, that's.
Just one little point of clarification before we adjourn.
Mhm.
And earlier you said something about a gift. You described it as a gift to you. I'm just thinking you being the state somehow,
Yeah.
or entity within the state, okay? But now there was just a discussion about we need to find a holder. Would the state be the holder, or?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay,
If-
but when you.
It would be the CR would be gifted to the Mass Department of Fish and Game.
Okay, but then there was another discussion, Veronica, were you talking with Futterman? I
Yes,
forget his first name, and that was if we had used the long form,
the one I
that-
sent you. If we used the MISA long form, we needed to find a CR holder, someone to hold that CR. With the boilerplate and fish and game would be the CR holder if we go that route. So it's a different form.
Right.
The boiler
Okay.
form.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get it. So we've already found the holder.
Potentially, and let me just
Potentially.
clarify. I just want to say that it's not just Pat and my decision, right? So
Sure.
we have to
I'm
go through
joking.
our channels.
And I just want to clarify, you're going to check on the setbacks for hunting?
Correct.
That
Yep.
too.
And I'll get a map to you guys before the 10th.
Okay. I know that our agenda had said we were meeting on March 27th, but I know I won't be ready on March 27th to meet on this. So cancel March 27th if you had it in your calendar, and we'll just go with April 10th if that's okay with everybody.
Yep.
Right?
Do you guys want to see the draft site plan as it stands, knowing it could very well change when we meet with MISA again?
That would be very helpful, I think.
Okay, so I will email that out to the group
Yeah,
next-
and if there's any other information along with that site plan, like, I don't know, if you had a consultant that said these were the conditions or whatever, I don't know.
Okay.
Great.
All right, this is great. Anybody have anything else before we adjourn?
All
All
set.
right, so motion to adjourn. Is there a motion?
I motion to adjourn at 8:13.
I
Second,
second.
Michael gets a second. All right, all those in favor, we have to do a roll call vote. So all those in favor, beginning with Emily,
Emily, fine, yes, adjourn.
Veronica Kell, yes.
Selena Thomas, yes.
Mike Pot said yes.
With that, we are adjourned. Thank you all, everybody. Have a good evening.